Welcome into this weekend's Soccer Best Bets show, and we're getting close to the final month of European domestic soccer action, and there's still lots to be decided across all of the major leagues in Europe. Now, this weekend, I'll be making some soccer predictions and parlays from the EPL, the Bundesliga, La Liga, and even the Turkish Super Lig. If you enjoy these picks and the info, give the video a like, consider becoming a member to the channel to show your support, and subscribe to get more picks all year long. Parlay number one, I'm going to pick 3 games in England in the EPL, spread over Saturday and Sunday, starting with Luton and Brentford. Luton, 18th. Luton is hosting 15th. Brentford here, with Luton in the relegation spots and Brentford just 7 points above the drop themselves. To me, this just looks like a game that should be filled with goals, and likely goals coming from both teams. Luton games average 3.5 goals per match. Brentford's average 3.2. Luton are 23-10 to over 2.5. Brentford are 22-11. Luton 29-4 to simply over 1.5. Brentford 28-5 to over 1.5 themselves. Luton have seen the most both teams to score games in the league at 79%, while Brentford's games have gone both teams to score 67% of the times as well. That was the result when these teams met in December, a 3-1 Brentford win. It's been the result in 6 of the past 8 Brentford games for themselves. It wasn't in their last, though, where they won 2-0 at home to Sheffield, but that was the first win in 9 games for them and only their second clean sheet in that time. So they very rarely keep clean sheets on the Brentford side. The highest scoring both teams to score team is Luton. They saw that cash last week, albeit in a 5-1 thrashing loss against Man City. They beat Bournemouth 2-1 the week prior, so both teams to score has now gone 12-1 in Luton games in the past 13. They have just that one win in that time. They conceded a goal in 13 straight. They've scored in 15 of 16, and they've scored in all but one home game this season. This has to be a game with goals. I'd be surprised if there weren't. Let's go both teams to score. Certainly you could choose to bump that up to over 2.5 as well to get a little bit better payout. Leg number 2, Aston Villa, Bournemouth. 2 teams that easily see their games averaging over 3 goals per match as well. 3.5 for Villa, 3.3 for Bournemouth. Villa still fighting for the top 4. They're 4th, but they're only 3 points above Tottenham, so they still need to keep fighting for that top 4 spot. Bournemouth don't have much to play for here. They're comfortably in 13th, but they could still finish in the top half of the table and set a record for team points. These teams split the points in December, playing to a 2-2 draw. Previous scores between them had also been 3-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-1, and 2-1. Villa shocked Arsenal last week 2-0 on the road. They're undefeated in 3. They were undefeated in 3 prior to their Europa Conference League game on Thursday. They're now 4-2-2 in the past 7. They have only 3 losses in 13 games as well. Like we said, they played the Conference League on Thursday to Lille. They lost 2-1, but that tied them on the aggregate over the 2 legs, and they went on to win in PK. So even in a loss, they still ended up winning the quarterfinal, and they'll be into the semifinals in the Conference League. Now, there's been at least 2 or more goals in 9 straight Aston Villa games, also in 16 of 17. Villa has also scored in an incredible 38 of their past 39 home games across all competitions. So Villa getting on the score sheet is about as close to a lock as you could possibly bet. After winning 4 or 5, Bournemouth is now winless in 2, but they drew Man U 2-2 last week, so they are still scoring. Still makes them 4-2-1 in their last 7. They've scored in 7 straight games. There's been 2 or more goals in 6 of those 7 games as well. On the road, though, they have not been great. They only have 1 win in 5. They've allowed multiple goals in 6 of their past 8 games as well. Certainly could be a both team to score. Could be a Villa win with multiple goals. Bournemouth, though, will be without Tavernier and Semenyo quite possibly as well, which could weaken their attack. So, could be a Villa win. I'm simply going to ask over 1.5 goals in this game. I think we easily see at least 2 to add in this parlay. And the last leg of the parlay, let's go Fulham and Liverpool. Fulham are similar spot to Bournemouth. They're not getting relegated, but they're outside of a top 10 finish. There isn't much on the line being in 12th, except maybe playing spoiler to Liverpool of this weekend as they try to keep pace in the title race after losing 1-0 to Palace last week and now sitting in 3rd. Liverpool played in the Europa League quarterfinals on Thursday. They won 1-0 to Atalanta, but they have gone out of the competition after losing the first leg. Fulham snapped a 3-game winless run with a 2-0 road win against West Ham last week. They played 3 times already, these 2 teams. Liverpool winning 4-3 at home in the EPL, and then 2 games in the League Cup, going 2-1 Liverpool and 1-1. Liverpool need this win. They need to go for it. Time's running out to try to keep pace with Arsenal and especially City, who are ahead of them. Fulham have also scored in 10 of 11 games. This could be a both team to score in over 2.5, or simply for this simple parlay, over 1.5. We go Fulham Liverpool over 1.5, Villa Bournemouth over 1.5, Luton Brentford both teams to score. We can get right about even money at minus 108. Parlay number 2. We'll go to Germany in the Bundesliga, starting with Hoffenheim and Gladbach. Hoffenheim have kept the lowest percentage of clean sheets this season, 3%, or for a number, just 1. Gladbach have kept the joint third fewest clean sheets, just 10%, or for a single number, they only have 3. Hoffenheim's one came way back in September, that one clean sheet. They got pumped 4-1 in Mainz last week. They won 3-1 over Augsburg the game prior, so both teams to score has now gone 6-1 and 10-2 in their games. They're the highest both teams to score team with 86% of their games going both teams to score. Who's the second highest both teams to score team? Well, that will be their opponents here. Gladbach, their games have gone that route 76% of the time. That was the case last time when these teams met. It was a 2-1 loss in that game. Prior to that, that was the case last week in a 2-1 loss against Dortmund for Gladbach. Prior to that, it was a 3-1 win over Wolfsburg, and both teams to score is 7-1 in their past 8. Now, it was 2-1 Gladbach earlier this season when these teams met, and if we look at some other score lines between these teams, we'll see a whole ton of goals with score lines of 4-1, 3-1, 5-1, 1-1, 3-2, 2-1, and 1-1. Why would this game be any different? With Pellegrino Matarazzo as the coach for Hoffenheim, he has 0 clean sheets in 24 games and only 2 clean sheets in 44 total games. That's the worst record of any Bundesliga coach historically in that time frame. Certainly this could be both teams to score in over 2.5 or simply both teams to score for leg 1 of the parlay. Number 2 in this parlay will be going to Wolfsburg and Bochum. There are 2 teams fighting to avoid relegation here. That's not something that Wolfsburg's usually fighting to avoid at this time of the season, but they are 14th with just 28 points, and Bochum are 15th, 1 point back with 27. Both are just ahead of 16th place Mainz with 26, so they both need to go for this here. They need something out of this game. Obviously, neither of these teams have won very often this season. Wolfsburg have just 1 win in 13, and that came against playing a man up against Bremen for most of the game. So they needed to be playing. They needed a team to be red carded to even get a win there. Even at home alone, though, if we just look at their home form, they're winless in 8. They've lost 3-1, 3-1, and 3-2 in their past home games. They are usually good for at least a goal, though. Wolfsburg, they've scored in 14 of 15 home games this season in all competitions. For Bochum, it's 7 games without a win after a 1-1 draw with Heidenheim last week. And they only have 1 win in 11 games as well. They've conceded a goal in each of those 11 too. On the road, they've conceded in 12 of 14 and multiple goals in 6 of their past 7. Certainly, I think Wolfsburg should score. Could easily see goals coming from both for this parlay. It's just Wolfsburg scoring for me. And the final one, Werder Bremen and Stuttgart. Bremen likely safe from relegation, but it's not certain. They're only 5 points above the relegation playoff spot. Stuttgart, they're likely in the top 4, but it's also not certain as they're only 7 points above Leipzig and Dortmund, who are, as they are currently 3rd. Bremen have 0 wins in 7 games. They've allowed goals in all of those games. They've been outscored 15-5 in that time. There have been 2 or more goals in all of those games. They lost 5-0 to Leverkusen last week as we saw Leverkusen wrap up the Bundesliga title. Stuttgart are undefeated in 9. They won 3-0 last week versus Eintracht Frankfurt. They've outscored their opponents 21-8 in that time. They've kept 4 clean sheets. There's been 2 or more goals in 8 of their last 9 games. These meetings between these teams are not always high scoring, with the last 2 results being 2-0 Stuttgart and this year and 2-0 Werder Bremen last year. But 7 of 8 and 27 of 29, if we go back way over time, have seen at least 2 or more goals. So even though lots of those results go way, way far back, some way, somehow, there's usually always at least 2 goals between these teams. I think Stuttgart could easily put up 2 themselves. Bremen at home, often capable of getting some goals themselves. All I'm going to ask for is over 1.5. We'll do another parlay here. Bremen, Stuttgart, over 1.5. Wolfsburg to score. Hoffenheim, Gladbach, both teams to score, being minus 112 odds. And parlay number 3 will go to La Liga and to the Turkish Super Lig as well. Spread out over Saturday and Sunday. We'll start with Girona and Cadiz. Girona has fallen off a bit since their heights of being one of the top teams in Spain earlier this season, but they are still 3rd in La Liga, while Cadiz are battling relegation at 18th, 3 points back of Celta. Girona can still finish in the top 4 Champions League spots, though, so this is still a big game for them. Girona at home this season, 12-2-1. They've outscored their opponents 38-16. Cadiz on the road, 0-6-9. They've been outscored 23-7. So 0 road wins and only 7 goals scored in 15 games. That's not good against one of the top home teams in La Liga. Now, this may not be a blowout, though. Girona, they only won 1-0 on the road when these teams last met in October. They won 2-0 at home, though, last year, and it was a 1-1 draw before that, also last year. Now, the under 2.5 is also hit in 10 of the 11 La Liga games for Cadiz as well, so even though they don't rarely win, they don't rarely get blown out or involved in very many high-scoring games. Girona have been alternating wins and losses for a while, each of the last 7 games. Last week was a 3-1 road loss to Atleti, meaning if that form follows suit, it could be a win this week. Their last 5 road games have all been losses, but the wins have all come at home, and like we said, that's where they'll be here. Girona still only have 1 home loss in all competitions, and that was back against Real Madrid. They've not lost in their next 12 home games since. They've also scored multiple goals in 8 of their last 9 home games as well. Cadiz have 2 wins in 4, but both of those came at home, and it's their only wins in their past 20 games in all competitions. They'll be without suspended left back Xavi Hernandez as well, which won't help matters. Girona at home, they also have in form striker, Golden Boot leader Artem Dovnik, who have 17 goals on the season. So looks like it should be a Girona win, maybe not a blowout, but certainly at least a Girona win at home. Also in La Liga, Almeria and Villarreal. 20th Almeria hosting 9th Villarreal. Almeria still has just 1 win, so ever expecting them to win is an unlikely bet. They'll get some draws though, and their games have been close recently. They have 11 draws, and they're 1-5-2 in their past 8, so only 2 losses in 8. Certainly not too bad for the league's worst team, but they have given up the most goals in the league at 62. Villarreal drew 1-1 with Bilbao last week. They lost 2-1 to Real Madrid prior to that, but they were 6-4-1 in the 11 games before that time. They've also scored in 11 of 13 recent games across all of their matches. With these teams both in La Liga in recent years, Villarreal has won 2-1, 2-0, and 2-1 this year back in September, so they have a good record. Villarreal do against Almeria. This looks like it could be a Villarreal win, or in a parlay, possibly double chance, draw no bet, or simply a Villarreal to get on the scoreboard and score at least 1 goal. We'll round this out with a pick from a different league here, as I like to scour the table and see some teams that might have good matchups from across Europe. Look, I found Galatasary and Pendikspor over in the Turkish Super Lig, and it's first place Galatasary hosting 19th Pendikspor. Pendikspor, they're in the relegation fight, obviously. They're just 2 points back of safety, though. Galatasaray only 2 points above Fenerbahce, so they still need the wins, and they usually get them as they're 28-3-1 on the season. They beat Pendikspor earlier this season in the only ever meeting between them, and that was a 2-0 road win. Now they'll be at home. Pendikspor give up the most goals in the league with a 64. That number is surely going to go up on Sunday if we look at how Galatasaray plays at home. 16-0-0. They've outscored their opponents 41-12. Pendikspor have been outscored by 18 goals on their travels this season. In the last 23 games in all competitions, Galatasaray has just 2 losses. 1 came in the Cup competition, 1 in the Europa League, and their last loss in the league wasn't since way back on November 11th. They've won their last 6 games, and they've outscored their opponents 19-5 while keeping 3 clean sheets. This has to be a Galatasaray win. So let's go Galatasaray to win, Villarreal to score, Girona to win, coming at a plus 107 odds. So there we have it, 9 games, 3 parlays for my European soccer predictions this week. What do you like in these games or any other games? Have any locks, parlays, upsets? Share them down in the comments, and good luck with all of your picks this weekend.